Anjena tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Gurvavishta Shapurakam Guru Ganashisha Sambhushitam Chincha Samasta Veda Nipunam Shri Rupa Pantanugam Govinda Viramujvalam Varatanam Bhaktyammitam Sundaram Vande Vishwa Guruncha Divya Bhagavad Premna Hivijapadam Vanshakapatrubyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaudatrise Namaha. So we are continuing. Jai Shri Gurudev, Jai Pandita Devi. So we are continuing this morning with Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Yesterday, we finished with this wonderful verse. I'm so happy because I've not remembered this verse for a very long time. It's so beautiful, this prayer of Dhruva Maharaj. Stanabhilashi tapasi stitoham tam praptavam deva muninja guyam kacham vichinvan api divyaratnam samin kritartosmi varam nayache. O my Lord, because I was seeking an opulent material position, I was performing severe types of penance and austerity. Now I have gotten you who are very difficult for the great demigods, saintly persons, and kings to attain. I was searching after a piece of glass, but instead I have found a most valuable jewel. Therefore I am so satisfied that I do not wish to ask any benediction from you. Samsar bramite kon bhagye ke ho thade nadye pravahe jino kashta lage tire. The conditioned souls are wandering throughout the different planets of the universe, entering various species of life. By good fortune, one of these souls may somehow or other be delivered from the ocean of nescience. Just as one of the many big logs in a flowing river may by chance reach the bank. So, how does it happen? Why does one get the mercy and somebody else doesn't? These are points that can be discussed until the end of time. But here, this very simple way of looking at it is given. There are many logs and flowing down a river, and one of them may end up on the bank. How and why exactly? You can spend a long time discussing that, but this is really sufficient. Because it is by the grace of the Vaishnavas, by the connection by the mercy of a Vaishnava, that one's devotional life will awaken, will begin. So why one and why not another, is difficult to say. Mai vam mama damasyapi shadeva chuta darshanam priyamana kalonadya kvachit tarati kaschana. Because I am so fallen, I shall never get a chance to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This was my false apprehension. Rather, by chance, a person as fallen as I am may get to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although one is being carried away by the waves of the river of time, one may eventually reach the shore. This is spoken by Akrura. Kon bhagye karo samsar kaya mukha hoye sadhu sange tobe Krishna sadhu sange tobe Krishna rati upajay. By good fortune, one becomes eligible to cross the ocean of nescience. And when one's term of material existence decreases, one may get an opportunity to associate with pure devotees. By such association, one's attraction to Krishna is awakened. So we heard previously, there are only two kinds of souls. eternally liberated and eternally bound, which makes us feel somewhat hopeless. However, we are told through sadhu sangha, the nitya baddha jiva can become nitya mukta. It is possible. Upajai, rati upajai. That taste is awakened because, as we're told also in Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is not that it is somewhere else, it is within us. That propensity is within us in a dormant state. And it is only necessary for there to be a favorable environment, which means the connection, merciful connection of a Vaishnava, then it will be awakened. Bhava pavargo brahmato yada bhavaj janasya tarha chuta sat samagama sat sangamo jarhi tadaiva sadgato paravaveshe tvai jayate rati. O my Lord, O infallible Supreme Person, when a person wandering throughout the universes becomes eligible for liberation from material existence, he gets an opportunity to associate with devotees. When he associates with devotees, his attraction for you is awakened. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the highest goal of the topmost devotees, and the Lord of the universe. Krishna jadi kripa kore konbhagya vane gu antar yami rupe shikaya pane. Krishna is situated in everyone's heart as the Ch.Ch. Guru, the spiritual master within. When he is kind to some fortunate conditioned soul, he personally gives him lessons so he can progress in devotional service, instructing the person as the super soul within and the spiritual master without. A little complicated translation, but the Bengali is very, straightforward, saying when Krishna wants to bestow his mercy upon someone, he will instruct them through Guru, and Guru takes two forms, as the Mahanta Guru without, the instructing spiritual master, and the Ch.Ch. Guru, the Guru within. Naivopayantyapachitam kavayastavesha Brahmayushapi kritam ridamuda smaranta yantarba histanupritam ashubam vidanvan acharya Ch.Ch. vapusha swagatim vyanakti. O my Lord, transcendental poets and experts in spiritual science could not fully express their indebtedness to you, even if they were endowed with the prolonged lifetime of Brahma, for you appear in two forms, externally as the Acharya, and internally as the Ch.Ch. Guru, to deliver the embodied living being by directing him how to come to you. And this is spoken by Uddhava to Krishna. Sadhu Sangye Krishna Bhakte Shadajadi Hoy Bhakta Fal Prem Hoy Samsajai Koi. By associating with the devotee, one awakens his faith in devotional service to Krishna. Because of devotional service, one's dormant love for Krishna awakens, and thus one's material conditioned existence comes to an end. By associating with a devotee, one awakens his faith in devotional service to Krishna. Because of devotional service, one's dormant love for Krishna awakens, and thus one's material, conditioned existence comes to an end. Yajachaya mat katado yata shadas tuya puman na nirvino nati shakto bhakti yogos yasidida. This is spoken by Krishna to Uddhava. Somehow or other, if one is attracted to talks about me and has faith in the instructions I have set forth in the Bhagavad Gita, And if one is neither falsely detached from material things, nor very much attracted to material existence, his dormant love for me will be awakened by devotional service. This is an interesting point made in this verse, that na nirvino nati shakto, that Krishna is describing a suitable candidate for someone to progress on the path of devotion, and he mentions these characteristics. They will be neither overly renounced from the world, nor will they be overly attached, neither overly detached or overly attached. Which is interesting because it's easy to think of being extremely detached as being favorable, but that can actually be another trap. It can be a more subtle trap. That mood of rejecting, of renouncing the material world. But we want the middle path. Nothing is to be exploited, nor is it to be renounced, to be rejected. But it will be properly utilized, it will be properly connected, dedicated. Mahat kripa vinakon karme bhakti noe, Krishna bhakti dore rahu samsar nahe koe. Unless one is favored by a pure devotee, one cannot attain the platform of devotion. To say nothing of Krishna bhakti, one cannot even be relieved from the bondage of material existence without the grace of a Vaishnava. And now we have this verse we were just discussing, spoken by Jada Bharat, Rahu Ganai Tat Tapas. And this verse is a famous verse, and Srila Sridhar Maharaj has included it in Prapana Jivanamrita. Rahu Ganai Tat Tapasana Jati, Na Ch.Ch Nirvapanad Grihadva, Na Chandasa Naiva Jalagni Sorye, Vina Mahatpado Rajobhishekam. O King Rahugana, without taking upon one's head the dust from the lotus feet of a pure devotee, one cannot attain devotional service. Devotional service is not possible to attain simply by undergoing severe austerities and penances, by gorgeously worshipping the deity, or by strictly following the rules and regulations of the sannyas or grihastha order. Nor is it attained by studying the Vedas, submerging oneself in water, or exposing oneself to fire or scorching sunlight. So here in this verse, Jada Bharat is listing all of these different practices which are prescribed by the Vedas in different places, following the Varnashram system, following these very strict austerities, perfectly worshipping the deity, and saying without the connection of a Vaishnava, without surrendering to a Vaishnava, all of these things are useless. They cannot give you anything at all. And now this is a parallel verse spoken by Prahlad Maharaj, also in Srimad Bhagavatam. And this is a part of, like we can say, they're the four most famous verses in the Prahlad Charit, spoken by Prahlad to his lovely father. There's really some irony here because he's telling his father, who's decided his arch enemy is Vishnu, he's telling him not only should he surrender to Vishnu, but he should surrender to the devotees of Vishnu. And not only that, but he should bathe in the foot dust. So of course for Hiranyakashipu, this is the ultimate insult. Naishammatistavadarukramangrim Sprishatya narta pagamo yadarta Mahiyasam pararajobhishekam Niskinchananam navarnita javat. Very beautiful verse. Unless human society accepts the dust of the lotus feet of great Mahatmas, devotees who have nothing to do with material possessions, mankind cannot turn its attention to the lotus feet of Krishna. Those lotus feet vanquish all the unwanted, miserable conditions of material life. What's the first of those verses? Can't remember. There's Natevi Duswarta Gadimhi Vishnu. There's that one which precedes this, and then what's the other two? I can't remember right now. But the first of the he's like, because his father asks him, Hiranyakashipu asks him, he's trying to figure out, where did you learn all of this? Because, the teachers, he's obviously, Prahlad has obviously been indoctrinated by the enemy. And so Hiranyakashipu was trying to find, and the teachers, Shandan and Mark, were saying, we didn't tell him this, it wasn't us. And so Hiranyakashipu was trying to get to the bottom of it, and he's asking his son, where did you learn this? And then Prahlad is giving him advice, and how he can also learn this. And so he starts out with this verse saying that it's impossible for materialists like yourself to get this on your own, or with the help of others who are like you, or through a combination of the two. And then he's saying, then there's that Natevi Du. Maybe it's just 3 verses that I'm thinking of, but I can't remember the first one. How does it go? I can't remember. But then the next one is saying that, persons in this world, they're living on, and Maharaj was also discussing this last night, they're living on the surface of things. They're living bahir artamanina. What is bahir? What is external, right? Artamanina. They're thinking that is valuable. They're living on the cover. They're living on the surface. And they're thinking, this is it. And they cannot, natevidu swarta gatim hi Vishnu. They cannot understand the real goal of life is Vishnu. That is within. That is the real substance. Distracted by the cover, they're ignoring the real substance. Vishnu, and it is also significant, the name Vishnu, is because Vishnu, the meaning of Vishnu, it means something like the all-present, all-pervading, omniscient Lord. So they're ignoring that substantial aspect of the world, that current of the Lord's interest, which is everywhere, which is connected to everything. Ignoring that he, not seeing that his presence is everywhere, they're just attracted by the cover. And then such persons, they take shelter of another blind person like themselves, and they progress, to lower and lower planes of existence. And so then he concludes by saying, the only way you can get this, my dear father, is if you bathe in the foot dust of a pure devotee. So this is the solution. This is how you can also get them. Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastre Koe, Lava Macho Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Siddhi Hoy. Very famous verse. Everybody knows this verse. Sadhu Sangha, all the scriptures say, just a moment's association with a sadhu will give you everything. But actually, this lava, it means, as we're told here, it means an 11th of a second. Wow. according to astronomical calculations, a lava is at 1/11th of a second. So then how do we understand this? I had lots of 11ths of seconds with the pure devotee. But we can understand that it is like this what is it now? Shatapacha Veda Nyaya that we were mentioning the other day. This logic of putting a needle through a leaf. The effect may not be felt immediately, but over time it will reveal itself. And Srila Swami Maharaj Prabhupada, when he described his association with Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he referenced this verse, because they met one time, and then Swami Maharaj, he went back to his life. He wasn't going there actually, to like hear instruction. He was going because his friend pulled him along. And then unexpectedly, he had some discussion with Srila Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur, and he was defeated. And so that made an impact upon him. And then he quoted this verse. There's a recording of him with Srila Sridhar Maharaj talking about it. And then he quotes this verse and says, like that, he saw slowly how the influence of that meeting began to manifest in his life over time. And then it was years before they met again and he took initiation. So that was very revelatory for me when I heard that. It's like, it was very encouraging. Like we had that time with the pure devotee. But because of our layers of conditioning, the full impact couldn't be felt at once. But as time goes by, it is revealing itself. It is manifesting more and more. And another point we can make is that, association, it is not a physical transaction. It is on the plane of consciousness. And so we really had association with the pure devotee according to the degree in which we were in the proper consciousness and thus able to receive something. Otherwise, we didn't really meet him. We didn't really have any association. If we were not meeting with the proper receptivity, which is based on the serving attitude, then we didn't really meet him. We didn't really get association. So that is another consideration. Everything is consciousness. Tula yama lavenapi na svargam na punarbhavam bhagavat sangi sangasya marchinam kim utashisha. The value of a moment's association with the devotee of the Lord cannot be compared even to the attainment of the heavenly planets or liberation from matter. And what to speak of worldly benedictions in the form of material prosperity, which is for those who are meant for death. The value of a moment's association, it's actually the same word, a lava in api, an instant. The value of a moment's association with the devotee of the Lord cannot be compared even to the attainment of the heavenly planets or liberation from matter. And what to speak of worldly benedictions in the form of material prosperity, which is for those who are meant for death. Purport. This is a quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam. This verse concerns the Vedic rites and sacrifices performed by the great sages of Naimisharanya, headed by Shonaka Rishi. The sages pointed out that association with the devotee for even less than a second is beyond comparison to 1,000 Vedic rituals and sacrifices, elevation to heavenly planets, or merging into the existence of the Supreme. This is interesting, because they're engaged in that. They're doing it, but they're also saying, to have a moment's association with the pure devotee is infinitely more valuable than all of these Vedic fire yagyas, these sacrifices that we're performing. when you hear these kind of things, it makes you think about what a rare fortune we have. It is not a light thing to meet a pure devotee. It's extremely rare. Krishna kripalo arjunere lakka koriya jagatere rakiya chanupadesha diya. Krishna is so merciful that simply by aiming his instructions at Arjuna, he has given protection to the whole world. Sarvaguyata mambuya shinu me paramamvacha ishto si me jidamiti tato vakshami te hitam manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vaishasi satyam te patijane priyosi me. Because you are my very dear friend, I am speaking to you my supreme instruction, the most confidential knowledge of all. Hear this from me, for it is for your benefit. Always think of me and become my devotee. Worship me and offer your homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my very dear friends. And we were discussing the other day, Gurudev pointed out, nowhere do you find anybody saying this. No avatar of the Lord, except for Krishna, says this, makes this kind of bold statement. Oh, because it came up here in Sanatan asking Mahaprabhu about the different avatars. Mahaprabhu was instructing in the different avatars for different yugas, and Sanatan's trying to catch Mahaprabhu out. Like, hang on, you sound like the Kali Yuga. But then it's mentioned there that an avatar of the Lord will never say that they're an avatar, that you have to identify them according to the revealed scriptures. But the exception to that, Gurudev has pointed out, is Krishna. No one else says that except for Krishna. So that just proves he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As Srila Sridhar says, so shamelessly he's presenting himself in Bhagavad Gita. Please worship me, serve me, love me, give yourself to me. It's completely shameless. Because he knows that's his position, and he knows it will be good for us. But otherwise, you don't see this anywhere. In any religion, you don't see this. Purvagya Veda Dharma Karma Yoga Gyan Sab Sadi Sheshe Agya Balavam. Although Krishna previously explains the proficiency of executing Vedic rituals, performing fruitive activity as enjoined in the Vedas, practicing yoga and cultivating jnana, these last instructions are most powerful and stand above all the others. So in the structure or in the sequence of Gita, Krishna is giving different instructions, but this is his final instruction. This is chapter 18, 1865. So he spoke of all these other things, karma yoga, jnana yoga, ashtanga yoga, but this is his final instruction. So the final instruction, it will supersede the previous instructions, right? This is normal. Hey yagya bole bhakte shadid, hey yagya bole bhakte shadajadi hoye sarva karma tyagodi, say Krishna bhajai. If the devotee has faith in the strength of this order, he worships Lord Krishna and gives up all other activities. Tavat karmani kurvita nani virdeta javata matkata shavanadova shadayavan ajayate As long as one is not satiated by fruitive activity and has not awakened his taste for devotional service by Shravanam Kirtanam, one has to act according to the regulative principles of the Vedic injunction. This is a very important verse, And this kind of harmonizes, this is the harmonizing explanation which places all the different instructions, the contradictory instructions in the Vedas. As long as you have not, as long as some natural taste and attraction has not awakened within your heart, then you need to follow everything, all these rules and regulations and rituals and all these things. It's kind of like the difference between a free citizen and someone who's on probation. Because we know you don't have a good track record. We know you have the tendency to do all of these harmful things to society. Then you need to be regulated. We need to keep an eye on you. So you need to follow some strict, some strict guidelines. But if someone has demonstrated that their interest is for the good of society, that they're acting in the collective interest, then they will be free to do as they like. They will be trusted. So in the same way, as long as, and it's not like this is an us and them thing. We're also following, maybe we're not following all the Vedic regulations, but we're following with some degree of vidimark, and this is why, because we're still tainted by selfishness. We're not to be trusted. So therefore it's necessary for us to follow some level of regulation, in our spiritual lives. We get up at a certain time, we chant so many rounds, we have some particular schedule in the day, and so on and so forth. And that all keeps us within a particular boundary, where someone whose heart is completely pure, completely free, they are completely free. They don't need to follow. They don't have any interest other than Krishna's interest. So as long as one still has material desires and doesn't have any attraction to these natural processes of Shava and Kirtan based on actual desire, based on actual attraction to the Lord, like Shravan and Kirtan, hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord, then they need to strictly follow so many things. And then what's that other verse? I was thinking about the other day. How does it go? It's probably quoted. It's here. I can't remember right now. But saying that, well, maybe it's not quoted here because it's not exactly relevant. But then there's another verse in Bhagavatam. How does it go? Dharma, no. But saying that that if all of one's perfect execution of their Vedic rituals and activity does not lead to taste, to attraction, to Shravan Kirtan, then it's all useless. Shrama, the word shrama is used there, is all useless. How does it begin? Very nice verse. If I can just hear the first word. But anyhow, this idea, all of these things, they are supposed to lead to some level of pure. Like if one is faithfully following these things given in the Veda, then they should lead to some level of purification. And also because one is with faith, following the Veda, then that should lead them to the next level, which is, natural approach to the Lord based on heart's attraction. There should be some awakenment of that. But if that hasn't happened, then it's all useless, actually. And again, we can apply that in our own practice, that if all of our practices and our regulated life and our 16 rounds or whatever it is not leading to a higher degree of natural attraction and faith in the Lord, then we need to question ourselves, what are we doing wrong? If that regulated lifestyle is not leading to a higher degree of taste, laulyam, then hunger in Krishna consciousness. If that doesn't lead one to some taste in Hari Katha, that is how it is expressed. If all of one's ritualistic practices don't lead one to having more taste in hearing Hari Katha, that is a measure. That is a measure. Then it is useless. Trying to remember that verse. Shama eva hi kevalam. I think that's one line in there. We'll maybe stop now. Shama eva hi kevalam. I think that's one of the lines in there. I'm just going to find that verse. What did you say? Yeah, it's a famous verse. Oh, of course, the internet. Oh no, it's just I disconnected for some reason. Shama eva hi kevalam. Oh, it's up to you. I'm going to find it right now. Here it is. Srimad Bhagavatam. Yeah. There it is. Dharma sanustitapam sam vishwa kena katasya nat podayedra tiratim shama eva hi kevalam. Dharma executed by men, regardless of occupation, are only so much useless labor if they do not provoke attraction for the message of the Supreme Lord. So that should be the end result of our service life. The awakenment, there should be an awakenment of further attraction. And if that's not happening, then we have to ask ourselves. Gurudev, he mentioned once, actually I think it's in Divine Guidance. It's a very nice expression. He says the result is existing within consciousness. And he discusses this point there, saying that we can do many auspicious things for the Lord. There's many auspicious things we can do, but that is not enough for the awakenment. How is it that he says it? That is not sufficient to enter Vrindavan. That what is necessary, he talks about how it's necessary for some attraction for hearing the Lord's Leela and for hearing Hari Katha. That indicates the hankering that is required. So this is how you can understand who's on a progressive path. And if we ourselves aren't more to the point, we ourselves, because we're primarily assessing ourselves, we're going to make scores. How much taste do we have? How much enthusiasm do we have? And maybe we're very, like for myself, I feel totally messed up. I don't feel like I can practice properly. But I have some taste at least, then I feel like, okay, things are not too bad. If you still have some taste for sadhu sangha, for harikatha, for Vaishnava seva, if you have some taste for that, even though you may be a complete, basket case, you may be a mess, you still have some attraction to these things, then just keep going, it's okay. You'll get there. And to have attraction to Vaishnava seva, that's more of a general thing, in one sense. And then a finer thing is to have attraction to the message that they're giving. Because, and I went through that stage myself, like, Jai Gurudev, Jai Gurudev. Oh, I love Gurudev so much. But what is that Gurudev actually talking about? What is his message? That was something that came years later, actually. I was very happy in the Jai Gurudev and serving Gurudev for many years. And it was really later that I developed more substantial appreciation for what is his message, actually. So that should come at some point. Okay. Well, maybe we'll stop there today. I don't really want to stop, but we should stop, because there are other things that we all have to do.
That was so helpful, that point you made, because I had always understood that verse to mean appreciation for Harikatha, like you said, it's about, appreciation to hear the Lord's glories and everything. But actually, it's also translated here as the message. That's really, really helpful. It's not like, it's a bit like deeper as well than simply hearing.
What were you thinking of it before?
Hearing appreciation for Smaranam or Shraddha, something like that.
Yeah, attraction for Harikatha. This is an indication of laulyam, of hankering. Jai Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai, Shri Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami ki jai. May you please lead us in Harinam Sankirtan and Didi. Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Jadavaya Nama